Hello, we are going to go as quickly as possible because our presentation went from 5 minutes to 3 minutes about 30 minutes ago, so we're going to go. We are very grateful to live on the lands of British Columbia, Canada, which is the home of hundreds of First Nations communities. I am personally very grateful to live on the lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations in what is colonially known as Vancouver. All right, so BC, British Columbia, has been in the midst of an overdose or drug poisoning public health emergency since April 2016. Since April 2016, we have lost about 15,000 people in British Columbia to the toxic drug supply. We know that overdose or drug poisoning is now the leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 59 in BC. It is also the leading cause of death for people who have been incarcerated. And among the people who have died in BC due to drug poisoning, 25% of people had been previously incarcerated. And so we also know from our research that the period post-release is a time when there is elevated risk of overdose. So as a result of our research really showing that that post-release period, the first 2 weeks, was really critical in reducing overdose death, we developed, Mo and I and our teams developed what is known as the PREVAIL Project, which is aimed at preventing overdose among people who are leaving prison in BC. So PREVAIL was a project that we launched and completed last year. 120 participants who used substances previously, who were leaving prison, received peer support from Unlocking the Gates. They also received a cell phone and a talk-text data plan for 3 months, as well as a medicine bundle, a First Nations medicine bundle. And the medicine was actually picked by a couple who were formerly incarcerated. So really that beauty of reciprocity was evident throughout our project. They also received a naloxone kit, and they received safe sex and other harm reduction supplies. And you can see here, these are kits in the pictures, as well as the phone, and all of the supplies were picked by formerly incarcerated Indigenous women who had received a life sentence when she was a minor. So among the 120 participants in PREVAIL, 78% were male. We had an average age of around 37 years. Although people were generally young, they had spent about 8 years in custody in their lifetime. Many of our folks, 70%, had had previously an overdose. And among those, 25% had reported that they had 5 to 10 overdoses in their lifetime. So really a real high incidence of overdose. And then on our first follow-up, so we followed people for 2 months post-release, only 9% of people reported having an overdose, and this was much lower than our previous studies, showing that about 17% of people have a non-fatal overdose post-release, so we really think this is a promising intervention to reduce overdose among people leaving custody. These are some quotes really showing that our participants really valued the project and the program.
Okay, as you can see the quotes. So I actually run the nonprofit. It's 100% peer run from me, the executive director. I have 20 staff. For me, to work for me, you have to have been incarcerated. People send me resumes. I said, I don't care what's on your resume. Have you been incarcerated? Yes, you can be hired. Because no one knows what it's like to walk out of those jails. I walked out 19 years, 4 days ago. When I walked out of prison, I spent 8 years going in and out and had no idea. I had no food, clothing, shelter, no way to get home, and it's still that way today. We created Unlocking the Gates. We picked up 2,500 people last year out of 8,000 what were released from our prison center. We support them from treatment, clothing, safe rides home. And you can tell by the numbers, we are cutting the overdose prices and the number of people would have been incarcerated. These are just some quotes, really talking about giving people dignity the day they get out, right? We all need dignity, we all need hope, and that's one thing my team does, is we always say we're the biggest cheerleaders. We never turn our hand. If you reach out to us, we'll support you. It doesn't matter if you're calling from jail, where our number is free. We're 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. If that phone's on inside the prison, our phone is on. I was answering calls 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with the time difference. I'm the after hours number. Still answering my calls here in Greece because it's important that somebody's there. And that's the biggest thing. When they're trying to do a release plan, no one answers their phones. Yeah, and just some other quotes. Yeah, and we actually ran out of time.
Thank you. Please save your questions to ask them, the presenters, directly, because we are running out of time and we have several presenters left. So let's.
So please don't leave. I want to say a word. Don't leave yet, because I wanted to say that first of all, what Amanda said really, as you saw, really made our day. We're very proud of what you're doing. I wish I could be somewhere and I could give you a award so that your work would be more known. And also, I love the fact that you spoke about dignity a lot. It's so important. And also, what I cared a lot and liked more was the fact that you care for people after prison. This is wonderful because, yes, there is a risk of overdose, but mostly there is a risk life can be dangerous then. So thank you really very much. It's amazing.